A chill ran down her spine. Who was this man, really? And what had she just stumbled into? Her pulse quickened as she watched the exchange unfold. The stranger hesitated before finally taking the envelope, his jaw tight, his fingers gripping the edges as if it carried a weight far heavier than paper. The man in the dark coat said something else, something sharp, urgent, then turned and disappeared into the night, leaving the stranger sitting there, frozen in place. She couldn't ignore the feeling twisting in her gut. Stepping forward, she called out, "Hey, are you okay?" The man's head snapped up, his eyes widening with surprise. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to leave, but then he exhaled, shoulders dropping. "You weren't supposed to see that," he said quietly. She hesitated. "Who are you?" He glanced down at the envelope, then back at her. "Just someone who understands what it's like to lose everything." He sighed, as if debating whether to say more. "That note I left you. Someone once left me one just like it when I needed it most. It saved me." She swallowed hard, realizing the truth. This wasn't just about her. This was about him too. Whatever was in that envelope, whatever his past held, it didn't change what he had done for her. Then, just as she was about to respond, he stood, placed the envelope beside her, and smiled. "Maybe it's your turn now." Confused, she reached for it, her hands trembling as she lifted the flap. Inside was a thick stack of cash and another note. Asterisk, "For a fresh start. Don't give up." Asterisk. Tears blurred her vision as she looked up, but he was already walking away, disappearing into the night just as quickly as he had arrived. She stood there, gripping the envelope, her breath shaky as reality sank in. This wasn't just kindness, it was life-changing. The weight she had carried for so long, the sleepless nights, the fear of losing everything, suddenly there was hope. She looked down at the note again, running her fingers over the words. Asterisk, "Don't give up," asterisk, the same message he had once received, passed down to her like a lifeline. Whoever he was, whatever he had been through, he understood. And now he had given her the chance to start over, just as someone had done for him. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but this time they weren't from pain, they were from something else. Gratitude, relief, a new beginning. She took a deep breath, clutching the note close to her heart. Then, with a small, hopeful smile, she stepped back inside the diner, ready to write the next chapter of her life. The waiter lifts his head, his voice steady. "Just a what?" The woman swallows hard. She's lost control of the moment, and she knows it. But what she does next shocks everyone. Instead of walking away, she picks up one of the bills she had thrown on the table and holds it out to him. "Sing another song," she says, her voice softer this time. But this time, it doesn't sound like a command. It sounds like a request. The waiter looks at her, then at the business card still in his other hand. His heart pounds. He has a choice to make. And the entire restaurant is waiting to see what he'll do next. The restaurant is silent, waiting. The waiter's fingers tighten around the business card, his heart pounding. He looks at the wealthy woman, at the bill she's holding out. For the first time, there's no mockery in her expression, just something he can't quite read. The moment stretches, heavy with unspoken words. Then, slowly, he exhales. He steps forward, but instead of taking the money, he gently pushes it back toward her. "I don't sing for money," he says, his voice steady. "Not like this." A ripple of whispers spreads through the crowd. The woman's lips part slightly, caught off guard. No one had ever turned down her money before. No one had ever denied her power. She stares at him, something flickering in her eyes, frustration, embarrassment, or something else entirely. The older man watches closely, intrigued. "Then what do you sing for?" he asks. The waiter looks around the room, at the people still watching him, waiting. And then, without another word, he closes his eyes and begins to sing again. But this time, it's different. This time, it's not for her, not to prove a point. This time, it's for himself. His voice is richer, fuller, unburdened by the weight of the moment. It's not about defiance anymore. It's about passion, about something that can't be bought or controlled. The melody flows effortlessly, pulling everyone in, silencing even the whispers. The elderly woman in the corner wipes away another tear. The couple leans in, drawn into the magic of it. Even the restaurant staff stops what they're doing, caught in the moment. And then something no one expects happens. The wealthy woman, the same one who tried to humiliate him, the same one who had scoffed at the idea of his talent, she slowly sinks back into her chair. Her shoulders drop, her gaze softens, and then, almost hesitantly, she reaches for her glass of wine and takes a quiet sip, listening, really listening. When the last note fades, the silence that follows is different. It's not tense. It's not awkward. It's reverent. The businessman smiles, impressed. "You don't need my card," he says simply. "You already know who you are." He nods toward the other diners. "And now, so does everyone else." The waiter looks down at the card still in his hand, then at the people around him. A slow realization washes over him. He had never needed validation from her, or from anyone. His voice had already spoken for itself. The wealthy woman doesn't say a word. She finishes her drink, sets the glass down carefully, and without another glance, stands up and walks toward the door. But just as she reaches it, she pauses for the briefest moment. Then, with a deep breath, she walks out, disappearing into the night. The waiter watches her go, not with anger, not with triumph, just understanding. Some lessons take longer to learn. The manager lets out a breath, finally breaking the silence. Then, one by one, people start clapping. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's warm, genuine. The waiter smiles, tucking the business card into his pocket. He doesn't know what comes next. But for the first time in a long time, he knows one thing for sure. His voice will never be silenced again. As the applause dies down, the restaurant slowly returns to life, but something feels different. The energy in the room has shifted, like everyone has just witnessed something bigger than a song. The waiter takes a deep breath, feeling lighter, freer. He doesn't know what will come of tonight, whether he'll take the businessman's offer or continue down his own path. But for the first time, he's not afraid of what's next. The manager gives him a small nod, one that says more than words ever could. The elderly woman smiles warmly, as if she sees something in him that reminds her of someone she once knew. The couple, still holding hands, whispers to each other, their eyes filled with admiration. As he walks back toward the kitchen, the waiter pauses for a moment, glancing at the door where the wealthy woman had disappeared. Maybe she'll forget this night. Maybe she won't. But he knows he never will. The older man in the tailored suit leans forward, now fully certain. He has spent years discovering talent, and this young man, this waiter, has something rare. His mind races with possibilities, but he hesitates. He needs to see what happens next. The restaurant manager takes a step forward, ready to defuse the situation if it escalates. The last thing she wants is a scene. She knows this woman's temper, knows how she can turn a simple moment into something bigger. But she also sees a shift happening in the room. People aren't just waiting to see what the woman will say, they're waiting to see what the waiter will do next. The waiter stands still, chest rising and falling with deep breaths. He doesn't lower his gaze. He doesn't apologize. He did exactly what she asked. But now, there's a quiet strength in his eyes, something unshaken. A slow clap breaks the silence. It's hesitant at first, coming from the elderly woman in the corner. Then another person joins in, and another. Soon, a wave of applause fills the restaurant, people nodding, smiling, murmuring in awe. A few even stand. The wealthy woman's face flushes. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was in control. She was the one who gave orders, the one who laughed while others obeyed. But now, she's the one being watched, judged. The attention isn't on her wealth, her power, it's on him. She pushes back her chair even further, the sharp noise cutting through the applause. The clapping slows. Some diners exchange nervous glances. The tension is razor-thin, the moment balanced on the edge of something unpredictable. The waiter finally speaks, his voice calm but firm. "Is that